Hello all, this is Adriana and I'm from group number 2. We are going to be presenting 5 musical examples: the motive, phrase, subphrase, elision, and period. I'm going to be starting with the motive, which is the first of those 5 examples. So definition-wise, in music, a motive is a short musical phrase, a salient reoccurring figure, musical fragment or succession of notes that has some special importance in or is characteristic of a composition. So in other words, the motive is a small structural unit possessing thematic identity. It's recognizable, it's short, and is typically in a pattern. So I'm going to play 3 examples of motives for you. The first one is going to be in the classical world, which is by Bach. It's his Brandenburg Concerto No. 3 in G major. I'm going to play just the short little recognizable repetitive motive that he has. Tends to repeat that throughout the whole piece. Another example from film scores. That is actually coined the curse, which usually occurs when there's a villain that comes into the music scene or the movie scene, or a bad guy kind of creeping up on you. Here's another good example of a melodic motive. This is from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So that we should all recognize. It's very short. So in short, the motive is the smallest unit of a piece of music that contains some kind of thematic or structural identity. So each one of those motives I just played for you does identify the piece. It is very short and it does have some structure. That concludes my definition and some short examples of a short motive.
Subphrase. It's longer than a motif and shorter than a phrase. It's the parts in a phrase. Let's see some examples. This is Beethoven Sonata, Opus 14, No. 2, in G major. We can tell that this is the first phrase by how it ends with the authentic cadence, 5 to a 1, or the D major to G major chord. Here's the motif. The motif then builds into subphrases. Here's subphrase A. Subphrase B. Subphrase C. And finally, subphrase D. Altogether, these subphrases make up the phrase. The way a phrase is divided into subphrases can be ambiguous. Different people may have different opinions. But, in general, a subphrase is a distinct portion of a phrase, which you can tell by its melodic structure. When a subphrase repeats but is slightly different, you may write it as the letter prime. And this will be shown in the next example, which is Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning I'll come following you.
So there you have it. You have the motif, which builds into subphrases, which then builds into the longer phrase. So subphrases are just the smaller units of music within a phrase.
So what is a phrase? As one could tell, phrases have a pretty broad connotation in describing musical passages, but by definition, a phrase is an independent musical idea connotated by a cadence. So what is a cadence? The term cadence can refer to a harmonic goal or the chords that are used at a harmonic goal. In short, it gives a passage a feeling of closure. Now, there are a lot of types of cadences, but the most common and authentic cadence is usually a 5-chord back to a 1-chord. For instance, the song Milk by Sweet Trip has an E7 that leads back into an A major 6th in the first phrase and an A major 7th on the second phrase. When writing music, it is common sense to repeat phrases or to make phrases similar to establish some consistency in flow. Because,
Repetition legitimizes. Repetition legitimizes. Repetition legitimizes. Repetition legitimizes. Repetition legitimizes. Repetition legitimizes.
Two phrases are combined, it is called a period. And depending on how different they are, the second phrase might end in a more conclusive cadence than the first. In our case, the two phrases in our period stay the same. The only difference is the lyrics and slight melodic variations.
On this land, tossing and turning, you'll never figure out a way. Harder to be free when you look at me, hoping to find me on this land.
An elision connects two phrases by sharing a musical idea. One phrase ends as the next one is beginning. This may seem like a confusing idea, but the examples we have should make it very clear.
The last musical definition we have for you today is a period. A period encompasses all of the previous definitions we've had. A period is two complete musical statements, otherwise known as a phrase, put together. However, there are some caveats to what constitutes a period. First, a period is composed of a weaker phrase followed by a stronger phrase, meaning the cadence of the first phrase must end in a half cadence, deceptive cadence or plagal cadence, and the second phrase must end in a perfect authentic cadence. Second, the two phrases must bear some musical relation to each other, either similar motives or question and answer, also known as antecedent and consequent relations.
just want to say thank you for having watched our video. As you can see, all of our definitions fit into each other and kind of build off of each other, starting from motive all the way up to period. We had a wonderful time making it, and we hope you enjoyed. Thank you.